Ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? It's Chris Carey, it's Andrew Benjamin. You're locked into another special edition of the We Are Rising podcast, and this time around we got somebody a little close to mind for Andrew to talk to, but is just as much of a badass out the cage as she is in it. She's 5 feet 2 inches tall, 105. Let me do that over again as far as your credentials go. I'm sorry. I mean, all this fear about the quarantine hell and all this makes me kind of loopy.
I got you on that.
Understood. But still, for those who don't know, our guest stands in at 5 feet 2 inches tall, weighs in at 105.7 pounds, and has a 62-inch reach. She's 35 years old, born July 26, 1984, and represents Long Island MMA, but fights out of Queens, New York as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. She also fights out of ring sport Muay Thai from striking game. In 6 appearances in mixed martial arts, 5 of them for Invicta, she is 4-2 overall, she is 4-2 overall, with 3 of those 4 wins going the distance via decision. Obviously, she's 4-1. Well, actually 3-1. No, wait, 3-2 inside the Invicta FC cage. She is probably one of the hardest working fighters today because she most recently fought back on February 7th, defeating Linda McKellick at Invicta 39. And she hopes that once this quarantine hell is all over, she'll get right back into the cage and fight again. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the We Are Rising podcast, a native of Queensbridge, New York, Jillian Decoursey. How are you, madam?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Andrew, you might as well go ahead and, talk to her a little bit because you're more closer to home and to her than I am to her.
Sure thing, Christian. So, Ms. Decoursey, first of all, thank you very much for doing this interview. A few questions. One, actually, these are all. It's going to be a bundle of 3 questions. One, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got into MMA, and right now, what are you doing in this whole coronavirus pandemic? I don't know, like what are you doing to survive, so to speak?
All right. So, I'm from Queens, New York. Right now, I live out on Long Island. I train out of Long Island MMA and ring sport Muay Thai. Most of my fights have been under, my professional fights have been under the Invicta FC banner. Outside of kind of fighting, I'm a mental health counselor, so and I have my own counseling practice. So right now, I've honestly been really kind of busy with work, given the stress that everybody's under and trying to, make sure that kind of all my clients and everybody's in good mental health. So I've been really busy on that end and trying to keep myself sane by getting in as much training as I can. Obviously it's very different than my normal everyday type of training, but, I got a decent little home setup here and, my trainers are staying on top of me and we're, communicating and setting up workouts so that when, everything does kind of resume some level of normalcy, I'll be ready to go.
No, and so has it been like Zoom workouts or like through video chats? Is that how you've been keeping up with all the training and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's Zoom workouts, and then some of it's just like writing up like plans and me kind of handling and doing what I got to do.
Okay, gotcha. So how did you get into MMA? How did you get into this weird, crazy sports?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was an athlete my entire life. I played basketball in college. So it was kind of after after I was done with college, I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a little bit of Muay Thai, and it was more just it started off as something just to stay in shape and something new, something competitive. I started competing a lot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I did that. I competed regularly up through my purple belt, even the start of my brown belt. But then it started to get harder and harder just to get matches, and things that were like local and traveling gets really expensive. So I was just messing around one day in the gym, and my coach was like, "Hey, do you want to do an MMA fight?" So it was kind of like, all right, yeah, why not? That sounds like a good idea. So I did my first amateur fight, and it kind of just took off from there. It was like, wow, I really like this, and I'm pretty good at this. So let's just see where this goes.
Mm-hmm. Actually, so yeah, so you have competed in the, I think it was the IBJFF type of tournaments. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
I did a lot of the IBJJF tournaments.
Gotcha. And you've done tournaments such as Fight to Win and Rise. Is that correct?
Yes, yep, I've done those. Those were the Fight to Win and Rise were relatively recent.
Yeah. So like, do you competing at a high level tournament such as that? Were you just thinking, I'm just gonna be doing jiu-jitsu my entire career. I'm just gonna be doing these grappling tournaments. Was MMA ever something that crossed your mind that like, yeah, I want to go into a cage and punch people in the face as well?
Nope, that literally was just that happened. I call it kind of by accident. It was literally my first coach. Just kind of was like, "Hey, do you want to do a fight?" And then I did one fight, and I was like, "Oh, I just fell in love," and I was like, "I need to do this." But even at the beginning, I didn't really see. I had like 9 amateur fights. Yeah, because I went 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I didn't see myself going professional. That was never kind of in the in my sights. I didn't see it being possible. I didn't think I was good enough. And then like about halfway through my amateur career, I got connected with my current manager, Jason Adams, and he started kind of talking to me a little bit and being kind of letting me know like how good I was and the potential that was there. And he started talking to me about Invicta, and then we made that a plan, and it was, hey, you know what? When I go professional, I want to make my debut with Invicta.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that, and we've just been kind of crushing the goals ever since.
Now, you fight at atom weight, and atom weight's it is one of the most interesting divisions, I think, in all of MMA, where I think that, like, everybody who fights in atom weight and women's atom weight, there's, like, some sort of 6 degrees of separation between all the fighters, because it seems like everybody is, like, has fought somebody, you fought somebody who fought somebody else.
Right.
But I think that's what makes it great, because I think the talent pool is just so vast at atomweight, and it happens to be one of the most interesting and one of the most underrated divisions, I think, in all of MMA. So let's talk a little bit about your fight. So like during one of your amateur fights, you actually fought Lindsey Van Sant, who now fights for Bellator and has fought for Rizin. Could you talk a little bit about that fight? And you went out to win that by decision. And if you can remember how you prepared to fight against Lindsey Van Sant, who would also go on to a very successful pro career as well.
Right. Yeah, because that was like I would say that was one of the most fun amateur fights I had. We're both very well rounded, and we were well matched in that fight. And it's kind of nice to see that. Hey, at atom weight, we were able to get such high level fights as being amateurs, and we were the main event on the card, and it was pretty much a back and forth fight. I was kind of getting the best of her against the cage, and she was landing her strikes, I was landing my strikes, and we were just literally back and forth. And then kind of going into the third round, I landed a takedown. She threw up one of her funky rubber guard triangles, and we kind of just ended out the fight there. And I kind of knew I had the decision just because I was getting the better of exchanges, but it got close at the end. And the triangle was definitely something where it made everybody nervous. We definitely have talks, and Lindsey and I are we get along really well, and we talk, and we live relatively not too far apart from each other. So we have talked about like, hey, we need to fight as professionals, so then that way we can become training partners.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, I forgot. Yeah, she is from New York as well. I think Webster
Yeah, she's up
area.
like up by Poughkeepsie area.
Yes, that was it. Poughkeepsie,
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie. Yeah. And so uniquely, you went on right to a major promotion, Invicta FC.
Right.
You just kind of went from amateur and you got right to a really maybe the number one women's MMA organization in the United States, maybe the world even. So could you just talk about your first offer from Invicta and just talk about the first Invicta fight that you got offered.
Yep. So, I had known that, my last few amateur fights, I knew that, Invicta was kind of looking at me, and, there was like the potential of them, offering me a contract. So my last few amateur fights were actually more stressful than any of my professional fights. Because it was, the carrot was dangling. I knew that there was like potential there, and something was, could be offered. But one small slip up, one mistake, or just not even looking good, winning but not looking good in my performances in the last few amateur fights could have jeopardized that. So then once it was like, and I took more amateur fights just waiting to see if I was going to get an offer, because I wanted to, potentially make my debut with a major organization, because that just seems really freaking cool, right? Like, hey, you know what? We're gonna jump into this with a bang. And then finally they made the offer, and then I got that first fight. I fought out in Tachi in California, which was an interesting experience in itself, because you're on the reservation out there. And but the way Invicta handles everything with their media day, and there's a lot of anxieties with making that pro debut, especially for a major promotion. And I definitely had the butterflies in my stomach, but I think that was like one of the best experiences I've had of all my fights.
Okay, great, great. I'm curious to know is what were you on the card that they had the open scoring by any chance?
No, no, that was just the last card they just had in was it beginning of March, or no,
Oh
end of
yes,
March
yes,
or
yes,
something?
yes, it
Yeah, it was like
was.
right. It was the Phoenix series they did that on.
Ah, yeah. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Well, I'll ask you anyway. I don't know if you happen to see that show. I just wanted to get your thoughts. What did you think about the whole open scoring thing that Invicta decided to experiment with? Did you think it was a successful experiment, or should they go back to the regular unified rules? Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think it went really well. And I think it was, I think some of the fears that people had about doing that open scoring was like, hey, fights were going to be boring and things like that. I don't think they were boring in any way, shape, or form. I think it was the opposite. I think it made it more exciting, because if you know you're down, you got to come all out in that third round, right? Like, you got to go for broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same token, if you know you're up to 2 rounds, you get to take more chances, because there's nothing. You're like, all right, you know what? If I give up position, as long as I don't get tapped out or I don't get knocked out, I should win this fight. So you can take more chances. So I think it's such a great idea. Why not let us know what the score is? Let us know what the deal is, so we know how to handle our business.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a
I
question.
think the reason why they don't want y'all looking at the scores or figuring out what the scorecards are is because, and I hate when certain things get lost in translation because of how, people from other countries see fighting as a game, like how the Japanese, when they normally say something about MMA, they think it's a game, when really this is a damn sport.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they probably don't want y'all to look at the scores thinking, oh, it's a game, and I think I need to win by getting just as many points on the scorecards.
Right.
So this will be one of the last parts of the Invicta talk, because we do have one question from a listener, and also just recently a guest on our show, Mark QP from Wombat News, and he asks, what are your thoughts on Jin Yu Frey, stating she is looking to go to 115 so she can head to the UFC. And also, just I want to reiterate as well that Jin is the current atomweight champion of Invicta and just recently defended the championship against, I believe it was Ashley Cummings.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. You see so many other atomweights once they got to the top of that, Invicta division, they're natural atomweights, but they were like, hey, you know what? If I want to make that next step, I gotta step up the strawweight. And right now, with the UFC not having atomweights, I think it's a great move for her.
Mm.
She's definitely, she has the size. She could bulk up a little bit, and I think she'll be able to absolutely hang at 115.
Do you think that UFC will eventually?
Well, on the contrary, and I'm sorry for interrupting you guys. It's kind of my thing. But Jin Frey, although she won the fight, she basically vacated the title because she came in a few pounds overweight.
Right.
Oh
right.
yes, I forgot about that. Oh yeah. Oh my god, if that feels like 5 years ago. I feel like that fight happened 5 years ago at this point. Okay.
I was on the card with her with that in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you just curious to know about UFC and atomweight? Do you think that UFC will eventually adopt an atomweight division just because of the amount of fighters that probably would be doing better at that weight versus strawweight? Do you think that you see the UFC doing that at all, Jill?
I mean, I gotta stay positive and be hopeful, right? I do see that one day they'll do it, but it's just, when is that gonna be? Is it gonna be, soon, or is it gonna be, in a couple years? And I don't see any reason why they're holding back on doing the atomweight division. It doesn't, they have other divisions in there that are that really don't make sense, and they don't even have a talent pool to pull from, but yet they keep those divisions in play for the females. And you have a vast pool of atomweight that you could pull from and have very exciting fights, but yet you don't want to make the division. So I don't know.
I think the only reason why they have those divisions, like the women's featherweight division, for instance, where they just leave it there as an afterthought, because they basically want there to be champion. They basically want everybody to be champions. They just want to waste time trying to find the right talent for those divisions.
Well, I feel like there's probably more people there's more fighters though at atomweight than there are at women's featherweight though.
Yeah,
the problem most of the women's featherweight tend to be 135ers who go up.
Right.
The only natural 145er I could have thought of at this point is Cyborg, but she's not with the UFC anymore, and I guess Amanda Nunes, but everybody else who's fought her, Kunitskaya, oh my god, basically everybody who fought, yeah, they all fought at 135 and went up to 145. So yeah, it's not a real true 145 division in my personal eyes.
Right.
Now let's talk about why we have you on here, and that is you.
Actually, let me go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Christian. I forgot you were here. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm looking at it right now, and I think this might play into what I'm about to ask Mr. Decoursey. Now, you said that you would like to face off against Crazy B's future B, Shimizu, in the Rizin ring, which of course 5 ropes, 4 corners, not a cage, blah blah blah. But still, point of the matter is you want to fight Shimizu in Rizin. Now, considering the fact that you fought most of your professional career in Invicta, do you see fighting in Rizin as a possible opportunity to make a name for yourself, or do you think that it would be best to, drag Shimizu to the Invicta cage and y'all can square it off there?
Well, it's not, if you just look at the history of things, there's a strong history of the Invicta fighters kind of going over and fighting in Rizin and then coming back to Invicta. That's happened numerous times. Especially over the last year, you've seen it, quite often. But you don't really see the reverse happening. You don't see, the Rizin fighters coming over to Invicta. So, theoretically, it makes more sense for me to travel over there. And I'm not, I don't shy away from, being, the underdog in the sense of being, not in my hometown or not being in my comfort zone. I actually think that's where I, rise above.
Yeah, but come to think of it, Invicta fighters so far in Rizin have not had the best of luck.
No, they have not. That is true. But you know what? I like to be the one to make a difference.
Gotcha. So, what makes you want? So, why Shimizu? Because Rizin has a bunch of other fighters in their atomweight division: Reina, Kana Azakura, Miyu Yamamoto.
Who's about 2 decades older than you.
Yes, yeah. So, what made you? Why Shimizu? Why is she in your target sites?
I think she's like, I think stylistically, we match up really well. Her fights are pretty well rounded. She can strike. She can, play her ground game. And I think and that means we match up really well. But I also think that, she's, other people that she's fought recently, haven't had ground games up to her level. So I think, her kind of, taking on a challenge with someone as far as the ground game goes and seeing where her, her ground game really is. And I think, it's time kind of to step up with that. And plus, she's undefeated right now. And I like to be the person to kind of put the mark on undefeated records.
Gotcha. So I don't know, did you happen to see her fight at Rizin 18 against Tabitha Ann Watkins by any chance?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the main fights that kind of pushed it over and put I on my radar. Because right before Tabitha took that fight, they were looking for a fight for her in her hometown. And I accepted the fight. And then as quickly as I accepted it, the offer was rescinded, and Tabitha was no longer looking for a fight. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, you turned down, a fight about a month earlier with me in your hometown, and then you take a fight in Japan on 5 days notice. So it was like, oh, okay, well, I beat Tabitha. Tabitha won't fight me, so hey, let's fight then.
Gotcha. Oh, God.
Come to think of it, would you end up wanting to face Alicia Zapatella if the opportunity presents itself?
I definitely want a rematch with Alicia. I fought Alicia. I took that fight on a week's notice. And my weight cut was really rough. I didn't have time to prepare. I had actually, I had a staph infection right before I, accepted the fight. So I was out of training for a little bit. So there was, a lot of factors that came into play. And I think we both really evolved as fighters since we fought about, a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think, a rematch is definitely, something that's on my radar.
So actually, the reason also I bring up the Tabitha Ann Watkins fight, and I don't know how much you remember of it, but Christian, if you remember when we reviewed the fight, one of the big things that we talked about was who won the fight in the end. Because I think Christian.
We definitely talked about how Tabitha Ann Watkins got pretty much shit canned because winning the fights.
Yeah, we had it.
Winning the fight by basically dominating Shimizu, but she lost the fight by way of a judge's decision.
Yeah, and the other issue was also, if you remember, there was supposedly a Gracie / Phantom tap. Remember the armbar that Watkins got Shimizu in, and it looked like.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that's we had a lot of discussion about that fight, and that's interesting. That's a fight that you saw. So it definitely seems like when you were watching that fight, you're like, okay, Shimizu definitely has a lot of holes in her game, especially when it comes to if she goes against somebody who's a lot better on the ground. Is that something that you saw was in this fight? Was that like, if she goes up against somebody who's a grappling wizard, she's kind of like a lost lamb, kind of?
I wouldn't necessarily say she's a lost lamb at all. She definitely was caught in that armbar, but she did do certain things correctly, like as far as escaping, and she's tough as nails because that armbar that was a pretty locked in armbar, and she was getting cranked.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of kept going, whether she tapped or not. That's not something that I'm gonna debate on, but it's like she toughed it out regardless, right? So I know that it's going to take a lot for me to get that finish and tap her in that sense. But, I don't want the toughness that she showed is one of the big things that I saw. And I was like, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like tough fights. I don't want easy fights. And, I don't think I've really had any easy fights. So it's, I want someone that's going to bring it. And, I think it's a fight that makes sense on so many levels. And the rankings were very closely ranked.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of, like I said before, we match up well, and it's just, it would be exciting because it's like, all right, who's going to get the best of who?
Mm. Now, I don't know, have you seen any other fights from the Rizin's atomweight division by any chance?
Yeah, I watched most of them.
Okay, great, great, great. What do you think about the division overall? Are we to think that it's probably their second best division? Well, maybe their first best in women's, but second best overall. Do you think
Right.
that Rizin really has like they really like care and show that this is their one of their flagship divisions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because almost every card it's at least one or two atom weight fights, and it's one of the weight classes that they really do try and showcase and just bring in like so much talent. I think between like Rizin and Invicta, are obviously 1, 2. That's pretty much if you're an atom weight, you got to be in one of those three.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be able to do anything with your career.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So, who else would you? Let's just say if the Shimizu fight didn't work out for whatever reason, she's injured or whatever.
Right.
If Ryzen said, "Hey, we can't get you Shimizu," would there be anybody else that you maybe would be interested in potentially fighting by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's like, hey, you make an offer, unless it's like something where it's, very obvious that like I'm being set up just to get like murdered and wrecked, which, with my skill set, I don't see that being, happening. But pretty much, you make an offer, and it's like as long as you're not telling me, hey, you're making the offer on Monday, and the fight's on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that we're going to turn down at this point.
Gotcha. Because also one of the things that Ryzen also does very unique. A lot of American MMA promotions do not do this. Is that they will have non-title fights with their champions taking on just other fighters.
Right.
If they made an offer to you and said,
Come to think of it, I just realized something. One of the fighters that Rizin has under contract is a current Invicta champion in Kanako Murata, aka Lady Sakuraba. Do you
Yes.
think that if given the opportunity, if a title fight doesn't work in the Invicta cage, would you be willing to face off against her in a non-title fight in the Rizin ring? And if you win, potentially get that title opportunity in Invicta?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's like an opportunity you can't, pass up. Would I be the underdog in that fight? Would I be, the underdog in every way possible? Absolutely. Would I be pegged to lose? Absolutely. But, opportunities like that, sometimes you just have to, take and, that's your opportunity to shine.
The other option, the other fight I also was thinking of is, like I said, they have non-title fights. The current Rising Atomweight champion, Super Atomweight champion as they call it, is Seo Hee Ham from Korea.
Right.
And if they offered you a non-title fight against her, would that be something that you would take? And potentially, if you win, you then maybe could get a title shot, sooner rather than later by any chance. Is that something that you would take up, or do you want to start small then work your way up?
Obviously, if the offer gets made, you kind of can't turn down those offers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ideally you want to be able to build yourself up, right? Because in both of those fights, I would be a huge underdog, just in experience wise. They're highly experienced and highly talented, and really, really great. Female fighters, fighters in general, not even just females. But I would ideally want to build myself up from more my level and build up. But if opportunities present themselves, you gotta take what's in front of you at the time, and it's not always ideal when you get it, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, of course. Christian, I'm gonna throw it to you because I run out. I run out of Ryzen-ish questions asked.
Okay. I mean, damn it. Now you kind of put me in the spot, Andrew.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, but come to think of it, seeing the fact that, and I know this may seem a little bit crazy for you, because we tend to shoot the shit a lot when it comes down to this podcast, but considering the fact that considering the fact that tonight is the NFL draft that's recorded April 23rd, if there was one way that you would get promotions to pick you up, i.e., draft you, so to speak, to their promotion or to their division, what would be your main sales pitch to said promotion and trying to get you on board?
Yep. So I mean, I am already, I am signed to Invicta, but the beauty of being signed to Invicta is, Shannon, works with her fighters, and if we get opportunities outside, to take fight, even if they're just for one fight, she generally, as long as it's something that makes sense and is going to be good for us career-wise, she gives us permission, and that's a beautiful thing because most promoters and won't allow you to do that. They're like, nope, you're locked in with us, and that's it, you're stuck. But she really looks out for, our best interest in that sense. But, I don't really sell myself with my words. I'm not, a big talker. This is one of the first fights that I'm actually, speaking out about and being like, hey, I want this. Because sometimes you gotta use your words, right? You can't just, stay quiet and expect things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to, show with my skills and my, talk with my actions and not my words, right? Because actions at the end of the day speak louder than words. And if I show you fight in and fight out that, you know what, I'm excited. Even if we're going to decision every fight, that's a grinding and it's an exciting fight. It is not one of those, decision fights where you're falling asleep watching it. It's like, gut-wrenching where you're like, oh man, what's going to happen here? And it's just nonstop action from the time it starts to the time it ends. So that would be my pitch. Be like, hey, just watch my fight. I'm not going to make a highlight reel for you because anybody could look good on a highlight reel, right?
Yeah, that's why I call it highlight reel.
But you have to show yourself up in front of that crowd when the lights are on, right?
What was that?
But basically, I mean, you're saying that anybody can look good on a highlight reel or a highlight tape, but it's all about showing yourself up when the lights are on bright.
Exactly, and that's where, you don't always see it. You could have one exciting moment of the fight, but meanwhile the other 14 minutes suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you take that 1 minute, you make it some cool little clip. Wow, you look amazing. Meanwhile, the rest of the fight put everybody to sleep.
No, well, we definitely. I've looked at some of your fights before we did this interview, and you definitely. I think you have what it takes. We always have the discussion after Rizin shows. You always say who is Rizin worthy, and you definitely have what it takes. Definitely takes what it has to be Rizin worthy. I mean, it's an entirely different environment. It's a ring versus a cage. You be in Japan. I don't know but we definitely think that you can definitely fit in the Rizin super atomweight division that they have there. We could definitely see you competing against people like Shimizu and Kanazakura and Reina, and you definitely climb up the ladder for that division. It would be, I think you definitely would be great assets at that division.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah. And
one more question I gotta ask you is that if you weren't a professional MMA fighter, and I always ask this when it comes down to the people that we interview or that I interview single-handedly, but still, you're born to as a professional mixed martial artist. You compete in jiu-jitsu as well. But if you weren't a trained combatant, if you weren't in combat sports, what would be your plan B? What would be your backup plan, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I it's a beautiful thing because I actually get to pursue both my dreams simultaneously. My backup plan or my plan AA or whatever you want to call it, my side-by-side plan is I'm like I said earlier, I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I run my own counseling practice out in Queens. So that would be my other plan, but I'm already doing my plan B.
Actually, just curious to know if you don't mind. Sorry, additional question. The mental aspect of MMA is I think is so fascinating. Sometimes even more fascinating than preparing for the fights physically itself. So in your case, since you are a mental health counselor, what do you have somebody that you work with as when you prepare for your fights mentally, or do you work on that on your own, or can you just talk about anything about that? I'm just really curious to know.
Yep, I mean, I've had a lot of mental coaches reach out to me, over the years. I haven't actually worked with one individually because I kind of know what I need to do, and just being educated within psychology and working in the field for so many years. I know what I need to do to prepare myself mentally, and that's been actually an aspect of the game that over the past year I've focused a lot on. Because my two losses, I attribute a big portion of it is to me not mentally being 100% when I stepped in the cage, and just not being there mentally in training, and a lot of stuff going on that I just wasn't able to block out and move on. So I think it's a huge aspect of the game, and if you can't get your emotions and your mind in the right place, it doesn't matter where your skills are. You're not going to be able to show them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And with that, I just want to give you an opportunity, Jill, to plug your social media, sponsors. I don't know, your daughter, your kid's cupcake business. I don't know anything that you want to plug. The floor is yours now.
I do want some cupcakes now that you're mentioning cupcakes.
Oh, me too, so bad.
Well, I do want to kind of, first I want to say thank you to my coaches. Eric Ruiz at Ring Sport Muay Thai, and Ryan LaClaire at Long Island MMA for kind of, always making sure I'm fight ready. My manager, Jason Adams, and, some of my sponsors that have been with me, for the long haul. I got Receptor Natural, CBD, Geek Chick, Fighter Alias, Guard What's Yours, Defense Soap, Bushido Bags, JAQ, Massage Therapy, and Fighter Alias. And you guys can follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Lionheart Jill, and Facebook it's Jillian Lionheart Decoursey.
Great. We hope that.
And one more question I do want to ask before we close this thing out. We know that you don't have a fight coming up because obviously quarantine and COVID-19 pretty much put a damper on things. But when you do get that first fight booked, what would be your message to say to fans in order for people to watch, in order for people to actually know who you are?
Yep. So, I would just kind of let them know, like, hey, if you want to see an exciting fight that's going to be, nonstop action and it's not going to be boring, make sure you tune in to watch me fight.
And if they can't, they can always check you out on the Fight Pass because I'm pretty sure most of your Invicta fights are already on there.
Yeah, actually, every one of my fights, even my non-Invicta fight for Cage Fury, they're all on Fight Pass, so you can watch them any time of day. And you know what? We're in quarantine status right now, so you got lots of time. So check out all those Invicta fights on Fight Pass.
But hopefully your next fight will be for Rizin. We definitely want to see you in the Rizin ring. Bringing a great fight to Shimizu, Kanazakura, whoever they decide to pit against you. And Jill, we do appreciate you talking to us now. Hopefully, people. I know for a fact people who work for Rizin listen to us. I can tell you that for a darn fact because we do have one fighter who got a fight. Christian, you remember Vitaly Shemetov, right? Remember that whole thing?
Yeah, the dancing Russian.
Yes, he got a fight because we were one of the first people to ask him why he wants to fight in Rizin because he was wanting to fight in Rizin, and he got signed a few months after we did an interview with him. So I'm taking credit for that. So hopefully,
take credit for it. And you know what? If I get a fight, I will definitely give you guys some shout outs and some credit.
Oh, we appreciate it. We definitely would love to talk to you if and when Rizin calls you to add them to their super atomweight division.
That sounds like an awesome plan. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
No problem. Be safe.
Stay safe.
Yep.
Stay safe.
Yes, you guys too. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Keep yourself quarantined. Don't read anything from strangers. And hopefully, when the time comes, we'll be able to talk to you soon about your future fights.
100%. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you very much, Jill. Best of luck.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, that was a great interview.